Gigli. This is a high-budget catastrophe of a movie. I think this one is one of the few, like, actual big kind of Hollywood deals that's in the bottom 100 still. And that's because it was billed as this huge deal. It was at the height of the, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez? Yeah, that's it. Relationship thing, so there was a lot of celebrity gossip and crap around it. So it was highly, anticipated. And then, wow. Nope. This is a movie that is, I think, on the director's side, there's not any, like, really horrible shots in it. It just feels very soullessly, mechanically assembled. And then it's all of that on top of this, the writing and dialogue, and the primary acting is just horrid. The plot is we've got Ben Affleck, who's involved with a mafia. I guess he's sort of a muscle guy. You see him, extorting local businessmen or something like that early on. He's assigned to basically hold hostage and kidnap the brother of a district attorney who's doing this big case against a mob leader guy. But then they also hire somebody else who is a similar person, who is Jennifer Lopez's character, to do the same thing, and they are both doing it together, and he is kind of a scumbag, and she's very standoffish and cold, but, I mean, there's, like, the potential for a half-okay movie in here, but, they're just horrible people. Primarily, Ben Affleck's character, who's supposed to be the protagonist that we're supposed to identify with, is just so shitty. The brother of this district attorney has some sort of mental disability that it's not. I don't think it's ever said what it is. It's just sort of the most vague Hollywood disability you can have. I don't think they put much thought into it, but he's like really fucking shitty to him, like unnecessarily so. And, like, starts yelling at him, shaking him at times, and it's, what are you doing, man? So there's a lot of that. This really super offensive, like, treatment of him. All of his lines are delivered really sort of, he seems totally spaced out through the whole movie. Like, he's only sort of paying attention to the fact he's in a movie. He just seems sort of, movie, line delivery. He just doesn't seem like he's there. This is the worst Ben Affleck performance I've ever seen. I'm not one of the people that just hates him to death. I think he's done some half-decent performances before. But, he's just miserable here. And Jennifer Lopez she's never really delivered many great performances either. She's just very delivering her lines very mechanically. Her character's kind of cold and standoffish anyway, so there's not a lot of warmth there anyway, so maybe she's doing what she was supposed to or what she was directed to, but still, you're not empathizing with them. And then, I don't know if this was padding to make this movie long enough, or if the director or somebody called in massive favors. There are 2 watchable scenes in this movie, and they are cameo, unnecessary scenes with Christopher Walken and Al Pacino. Christopher Walken comes in relatively early in the movie, and I think he's like a police something friend of Ben Affleck's, but comes in and they're hiding the brother of the DA agent. And he sort of comes in and actually is pretty good in this. He does his Christopher Walken thing and talks about, hey, I heard this kid was kidnapped. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? And actually establishes some tension in the movie. And for this one scene, I was like, hey, it's Christopher Walken. Why are you debasing yourself here? And, okay, this scene's actually watchable. Until anybody else opens their mouths. He's only in it for, like, I don't know, a couple minutes, however long the scene is, and never comes back. He came in for, an afternoon to shoot a scene. And I bet that was just because they were throwing money at this movie and needed to flesh it out. He doesn't come back into the movie. The one thing that scene does establish is that something. It establishes something that makes the gravity of the whole thing more important. Like, I think it's that they figure out the district attorney, that the kid is related to the district attorney, and that the case is like the super mob boss. court case. Or he gets some information that makes the gravity of the whole thing more important. So that's what that scene establishes, and Christopher Walken's actually watchable. And then later on, towards the end, I think Al Pacino's actually the big mob boss guy who's going on trial, and they're eventually told to kill the kid. I don't know how old he's supposed to be. I thought he was like 17 or 18. Maybe he is older. I haven't. It's been a little while since I've watched this, and I don't know. He's the younger brother and is treated kind of like a kid brother. So not that old. Not old. So maybe not a kid, but not old. So yeah, they're told to kill him, and then they don't do it because that would be super shitty, and that's not how they roll. And then they're sort of, I don't know if they're kidnapped or cornered. In any case, they wind up sitting down with the big mob boss. Or they lie. That's what they do. They lie about killing him and send them some proof that they killed him, but didn't actually. And then he figures out that they were bullshitting, and actually has this great Al Pacino screaming at the camera scene where he gets really angry and, sort of lays them out. And then Jennifer Lopez opens her mouth, and all the tension, everything built up in the scene just you feel it. You feel the energy go out of the room like collapsing a balloon. And her delivery is just bad, and she just, even though her lines are supposed to be sort of the one up on the Al Pacino character, but she's just so flat. She kills the scene in a bad way. And I don't think we see Al Pacino anymore. I think he kills their liaison guy at that point, and something bad happens. I don't even remember. The rest of the movie's just a blur of stupid. And I hated this movie so much. Like, this is one of those cases where usually a Hollywood film, like Bad Movie, something like The Wicker Man, that was done with serious Hollywood movie, there's enough stuff that's mechanically okay that it's not really. Usually it's the writing or whatever is mediocre. When people bring up The Wicker Man, that's primarily the performances are bad, or, things like that. Or Batman and Robin, where it was designed and directed to be kind of this one is just, it's another one of those things, kind of like, I don't know what to compare this to even. The writing is offensive enough, but the performances are bad. Primarily because it's primarily a bottle. For most of the movie, they're in an apartment with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, and they're just talking and developing their relationship. And eventually, she says that she's a lesbian. And then they do this thing where Meg Ryan shows up for another scene, another unnecessary cameo. To break up with her, and then she's into Ben Affleck, and then she's not, and then it's a confusing ending of the movie that I already hate and don't care about. Yeah, so there's plenty of offensive crap going on in this movie. Towards, LGBT people, towards, anyone with any kind of mental disability. It's just super shitty. Also, anyone who likes watching movies, it's very offensive. Not in the same way, but in the way that they produce something that's just unwatchable. Almost unwatchably bad. But, yeah, it's just not an enjoyable... And the thing is, this, even after the fact, after this movie came out and bombed, you find any DVD store you go into, in the bargain bin is at least a copy of Gigli. It's probably a copy of Gigli right next to a few thousand copies of Rollerball, which I'll get to later. I also really hate that movie. Yeah, I'm even going way over my usual time limit to talk about this movie. It is just... It's not even the most infuriating movie I watched, but it's another one of those things, this was clearly a mechanically designed movie to be a success. They even, if they build it in such a way that it's it's Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez and Al Pacino and Christopher Walken and Meg Ryan, and just, list out all these people that are barely in the movie. It's deceptive. It is a deceptive movie. The movie was sold, we're going to put Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez in a movie together. And that's all they needed. It didn't matter what anything else was. And that's, this is sort of the perfect movie to stab at if you dislike celebrity culture and sort of these really badly sort of pieced together Hollywood-style movies. Yeah, that's why it's the bottom. It's got to be because this had so much celebrity buzz about it, and it was just so lazily thrown together and so offensively written, and just poorly acted that it's just a miserable experience. I can't recommend it. There's not any entertainment value out of it. I can't even say that you should Google and watch the clips of it with Al Pacino and Christopher Walken, because Christopher Walken seems like any Christopher Walken scene, and Al Pacino's scene, while that I might actually recommend watching that. If you can find the Al Pacino scene from Gigli, just not because of Al Pacino's performance, but of how Al Pacino builds up through his sort of monologue, or his dialogue, I guess, nobody else is talking, but builds up the tension in the room, and the tension in the scene, and then as soon as Jennifer Aniston opens her mouth to respond, you feel all the energy just die. And I would watch that one scene, and it just perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with the movie, I think, as far as tone-wise and acting-wise. That they just throw a decent actor in there to give a good performance, and then they just kill it. They break its neck and bury its corpse in the backyard. Yeah, so that's I didn't like this movie much at all. So that's Gigli. Just don't bother with it. Oh, it also ends with a dance scene. I'm not going to talk anymore about this, but it ends in a music video dance scene for some reason. I'm done.
Go down to Marie Callender's. Get me a big bowl. Pie, some ice cream on it. Good. Put some on your head. Your tongue would slap your brains out trying to get to it. Interested? Sure.